Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Don't worry, that's not a Polish invasion. Actually, I work with Mirek for a long time in Poland. I spent more than 20 years working with the Polish government, military forces as well. So I represented Poland to NATO Information Assurance Subcommittee for more than 10 years, and I was responsible for Polish accession to NATO. So that's something that I work with my colleagues across Central Eastern Europe right now, sharing the best practices from that time. But it's not the subject of my today briefing. Let's start from the future. You talk about innovation right now. You talk about what we need to do actually with our innovations and what we need to secure our innovation, what we need to do to secure the investment into government systems and the services available for citizens. I recommend you to read the study and watch the study that was developed by Microsoft. It's called Cyberspace 2025. That's about something like the foresight, what governments should do to really catch up with security challenges, security threats. And there are three types of governments. The governments that will not invest at all, so they will stay somehow in a canyon. The governments that will try to invest as a minimum standards, so they will be in plateau. And the governments that will invest and to catch up and to secure innovations in the future, they will stay on the mountain. So really recommend you to go to this interesting foresight analysis. We will also release detailed analysis per region, and also we think about analysis per country. That was the future. That's today. That's today. Actually, the view today bulletin from NATO. You see another list of challenges, another list of incidents, another information of exploit, and you cannot find the information about Microsoft. What we need to understand right now, it's not only black and white world anymore. We see more and more threats, more and more vulnerabilities that are exploited based on iOS, based on Android. So right now, it's no longer discussion about Microsoft, about what wasn't done to improve security. And actually, Microsoft started to invest in trustworthy computing more than 12 years ago. And right now, we see that investment returned. So what we see, how to analyze the global threats, because we need to understand them to really operate. So Microsoft is publishing twice a year the document that is called Security Intelligence Report. You can get to Microsoft website, search for Security Intelligence Report, and that report covers the analysis of the trends in the threats and malware for half a year of the previous year. So this report is based on information collected from more than 600 million of computers. It's based on analysis of the scans of more than 18 billion of entering of the websites, and of course running more than 700 million of free of charge malicious software removal tool monthly basis. This report, as I said, is published twice a year. It covers vulnerability trends. It's also developed for countries. So we cover more than 100 countries. Actually, it's 105 countries with the detailed data about encountering rate. So the number of computers that report infections, the number of computers that's been reporting as a cleaned from infections. So let's talk about Georgia. What we've seen for Georgia for the second half of the previous year. Actually, we started to look carefully to Georgia in the second half of 2013. So as you see, as you look at the encounter rate, so number of computers reporting the infections, it's much higher. It's twice higher than worldwide average. And I can tell you that a similar statistics for across Central Eastern Europe. Georgia is not higher in the encountering rate. When you look at the number of computers cleaned by Windows embedded antivirus software, it's higher than average, but I can say you it's very similar what we observe across Central Eastern Europe. So we can observe the trends, of course, growing trend for infection rates. But when you look at the Security Intelligence Report, you get more information about threat categories, different types of malware that is detected. Of course, when you look at the detailed statistics, we see some down in statistic for miscellaneous Trojans. also for worms, but we see growing number of different types of Trojan downloaders and droppers. So when you go into detailed statistic, percentage by different families of threats, and what those families represent. So you see, starting from the obfuscator type of malware that actually protects or block detection by antivirus scanner. The second most popular family is the Trojan that install the browser add-ons to claim actually to offer new type of additional type of protection. The third type it's a worm that is actually commonly distributed via exploit kits, and the fourth family of top four is the family of Trojans that download and install other programs to infect the computer, targeted computers. So that was for encountering infections. That's the statistics for computers cleaned per 1,000. So as you see, 17 computers per 1,000 been cleaned of roadbro, Trojan, and downloader. That's a very interesting statistics also about the website itself, because we look at the websites in Georgia, and if you look at the phishing sites per 1,000 hosts, that's almost 3 times higher in Georgia than worldwide. When you look at the malware hosting websites per 1,000 hosts, that's also more than 3 times higher than worldwide. The only statistic that's tried to catch with worldwide is drive-by downloads, so the websites used for these types of attack. One important message I need to deliver, because it's also based on a security intelligence report, it's very sensational and media loves zero-day attacks. But when we analyze actually how successful are attacks, what is the major factor for the attack to be successful? In more than 40%, the successful factor is user interaction. User opened the attachment, user opened the email, user just going to the website that was recommended by email that he received. And of course, the next step is to use vulnerability to run exploit against to address a specific type of threat. So you cannot see the exploit of zero-day attacks, but actually it's lower than, it's about 0.01. So it's the double digit, so you cannot see it on this picture. Of course, from observation to action. So talking about cybercrime, Microsoft is neither micro and is not soft. So we are really macro and hard in the scale and also the way how we operate. So let me to present you a show movie.
To cybercrime is far greater than anybody ever imagined before. 93% of money is digital. So that's what's at risk.
It's difficult because as technology increases on our side, technology increases on the bad guy side as well.
Microsoft is game changer in terms of the fight against cybercrime.
Because of Microsoft, more is being done today than has ever been done in history.
So 30 seconds actually summarizing 4 years of operations against global botnets. Operations performed by Digital Crimes Unit. First of all, to disrupt malware attacks, then to target intellectual property crimes, and the third, protection of children. So global operations against pedophiles, against child pedophilia, tracking all the pedophiles networks across the internet. That's the face of Microsoft that is not public, that is not known widely. So actually, those activities are performed by Cybercrime Unit, running under umbrella of Trustworthy Computing Team. And this team, actually since 2010, when we started cooperation across industry with the first Configure working group together with security vendors like Symantec, McAfee, Kaspersky, there was a first actually cross-industry cooperation that was then a foundation for Microsoft Active Protection Program for sharing vulnerabilities between different security vendors. But since then, we started to operate globally. We started to hit criminals, hit their infrastructure, to take down their infrastructure, to make much more expensive for them to attack users. So as you see, we performed until July this year, we performed already 12 operations. All of them being performed together with Federal Bureau of Investigations. Actually, we train FBI to perform their own operations like Core Flood. Since November last year, we perform operations also together with Europol. So we get outreach also and cooperation with European police forces. The most recent operation, it was Game Over Zeus, performed together with Latvian police. And we collect information about botnets. Botnets, we sinkholing the information. This information is available. We provide this information free of charge for CERT teams and for law enforcement, just actually to operate, to work with us on taking down. Just interesting visualization of Citadel botnet, because it was quite interesting because, as you see, the geographical range or focus from this botnet. You can recognize the border of European Union or Western countries. Actually, Citadel targeted only non-Russian language computers. So that's why you can see Western Europe. You can see, of course, some computers infected in Moscow, but actually those computers being run by foreign companies operating in Moscow. So the loss from Citadel, we calculated the loss from Citadel together with International Association of Financial Institutions. That was more than 500 million of US dollars. So I told you about Cybercrime Center, Digital Crime Unit. Cybercrime Center was officially opened in November last year during the dedicated event for law enforcement. This Cybercrime Center is running dedicated data center to analyze a huge amount of information. How big is the data processed by this data center? You can see some statistics. 700 million events per day. And this is just 5% of the capacity of this dedicated data center. 150 million events to go into the database each day and shared through cyber threat intelligence with CERT team. 3 million infected IP addresses daily. Let's go further. Of course, we need to visualize this information. So that's about statistics. What we are using, we are getting this information into Excel, and we visualize this information using typical functions of Excel that is called Power Map. So what technology? It's not any special technology used by us. We use actually commercial off-the-shelf elements, database system for parallel data warehousing. We use Hadoop on Azure. We use Azure as a cloud environment to share this information in real time with CERT teams. So cyber threat intelligence information is shared with the CERT team and updated every 30 seconds. So we don't distribute emails. We provide actually online stream about new IP addresses that we detected as infected in specific countries. So that was Redmond. We have a satellite cybercrime center located in Beijing, in Berlin, Brussels, and Washington, D.C. And we also offer some limited capabilities based on Microsoft technology centers across the world. I want to just focus on the impact by operations by the Digital Crime Unit. So you see the number of encounters just for one family of botnets. Actually, the most recent operation from July this year, Operation B106, that covered almost 200 different types of malware, run by the same, I may say, the same motivated group, actually focused on financial threats. So you see, by performing our operation, the number of encounters and active machines in this botnet, the new hashes related to a specific malware like Bladabindi and also Jenksers, you see how the number was decreased. And the major outreach of this B106 operation, so you see that we detected more than 100 and almost 240 countries, about 42 million of unique IP addresses being impacted by B106, the family of threats. So you see top 25 out of 200 threats present in B106. That's also geographical distribution. So you see 35 of a million of unique IP addresses being located in the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region. So let's go to Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Top one is Egypt, then Pakistan, then Morocco, Turkey, but we see also Azerbaijan there. So that's a view that we have just for 10 botnets. That's Central Eastern Europe. Let's look at the statistics on millions of infected computers. So the information that we collect, of course, it's really nice to see this, how it is presented graphically. So look at the Central Eastern Europe. So you see the density of infections. So let's go across the region. And this is just a power map in Excel, so it's not a dedicated tool. Different types, different colors representing different botnets. Let's go to Georgia. So we can see the country view. We can see the city view. And we could also try to make something like the street view on different types of infections. So let's talk about Georgia. That was what we observed only for 4 days in October this year. That was the major number of infections of IP addresses reporting infections under botnet 106. It's almost 1,3 million of unique IP addresses. The second on that list is still Configure. Still a major problem, even if the vulnerability is known for a long time. So let's look at Tbilisi, the same. We can go into Tbilisi and look the number of unique IP addresses infected by specific botnet. It's not only botnet. That's, I think, major activity of users. Users are still behind of the challenges and threats. So there is no security by legacy. There is always investment needed. And the work style in 2001, it's different than in 2014, is different than in 2001. But we still observe in many government institutions the same approach. So that's my favorite picture. So security, it's not, or software security does not follow the Lada car evolution. Lada was maybe perfect in 80s and remained the same perfect car in 2012. But when we look at the BMW, that's a completely different story, different challenges. So if people are still using Windows XP because it works, that's okay, good luck. If people are still using Windows Server 2003, okay, you are okay until July next year. But in many organizations, you will not replace the Windows Server or update Windows Server just within 1 month. So there will be no updates, no compliancy. So in case of financial organizations, there will be some problems with the requirements by financial institutions like Visa and MasterCard. They will not operate with companies that still use unsupported server system. No safe haven. So it's time to react, time to act right now. So when I presented you the Lada, so look, we have a Lada developed in 2001 as a Windows XP. What type of threats been present at that time, and what was the set of security mechanisms available? And if you compare it to Windows 8, the threats and the number of different types of technologies, security technologies implemented in Windows 8.1, not because of the new and nice interface that some people hate, because they don't have touch screens, but because of security. That was the major. The second story is about Windows 10. I will not cover this right now. So what's the major proposal from Microsoft? I told about Cyber Threat Intelligence Program, but there is a major proposal for governments, for military forces. It's about Government Security Program. That's the only program that is run across the world by software vendor companies. So the program that is about to provide access to the source code, so governments and military forces get full access to the source code. What's more, they get technical knowledge shared by Microsoft experts. They get access also to the new initiative, because we extended this program in this year. The program actually offers the access to Transparency Center. So government bodies, evaluation facilities, or certification bodies can go deeply into the code. They can recompile the code. They can cite the code to check whether the code executed in their system is exactly the code that is trusted. So that's a proposal. This program is free of charge for governments and military bodies. So we ran this program for more than 10 years, but this year the program was updated, I may say, the GSP to 0, and I think that's also the valid proposal for Georgian authorities to work together. So the last 2 messages. First of all, protect your environment. So start with updating, really start to follow up, because hackers are following up. Hackers are increasing their capabilities. So if you will stay with what you have right now, and if you want to be really secure, don't stay behind. So actually, 2014 is the year of introduction of the new government security program. The key goal is not only productivity, so getting the tools to process information across all the platforms, but actually I may say security productivity or secured productivity or security by default coming directly from operating system. And security is one of five top trends for next year, in parallel to cloud, mobile, and that was big data that was presented yesterday. And actually, we invite the authorities of Georgia to cooperate under the new government security program. Some useful resources, just answering the question that was asked before. That presentation, the copy of this presentation will be available after. Thank you very much.